Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex Blend. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon for the SLCP meetup. We'll be discussing water today, water use in our public libraries and in our libraries in general. I shouldn't just say public. I don't want to limit it to that. We have three great volunteer speakers who agreed to share with us this afternoon. So very fortunate for them. First, we have Kristen Stroh, the Assistant Director at Sachem Public Library. Sachem is doing a lot of great things. And working towards finishing up the certification. And analyzing their water bills, they were able to take a look at their water consumption and where it was coming from, and able to decrease the consumption by 20% in a year. So I'm sure that's just one area where they did work. I'm sure Kristen will share some other great things with us. So Kristen, welcome and thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. So like you said, we looked at our water bills and we did a water audit with our the Suffolk County Department of Water. And they were able to pull our bills and have a whole conversation with us about our usage. And our biggest usage, which if you have any kind of an outdoor lawn or any kind of thing, whether it's your home or your business, it's going to be irrigation. So our biggest usage was from June to September. And back when we did the audit, she looked back at the year prior. And in 2021, we used 891,242 gallons in our peak season. And then she looked at our peak off season, which was December through March, and we were only using 35,904. So you can see that that was probably building stuff. So that, in there, that's your toilets and your sinks and all that. So that is your peak off season is going to be what your building is using. And then during the spring and summer months is going to be your irrigation. So look at the difference. We had 850,000 gallons. That was our difference. So that's a big number. So we're like, what can we do to change that? We have a lot of outdoor areas. We have a lawn in the front. We have lots of lovely beds with plantings everywhere. And we have a situation where we have this lovely outdoor garden space that is about half an acre that's in the back of our parking lot that has a center lawn that's essentially where a house used to be. So figure like a whole lawn that would be the size of somebody's lawn at their house that we have to water too. So what we did was we installed a smart sprinkler system. And that's something very easy that you can do. You talk to your sprinkler company or custodian. Our custodian was able to attach ours to our system. And so the following year, we decreased 20%. We saw a 20% decrease. And also that center lawn that I was talking about, sometimes it would hold on to the water and still be like saturated days later because it was also in a shaded area. So we also some days, and even some weeks, we didn't water it at all because it just got enough from the environment. So that was what we had done. And it's something, it's very relatively inexpensive to do. They're like a couple $100 to install. And our custodial department runs it through we gave them a little device and they just use it with the app on there and they can tell whether they want, nope, it's good out there, we're not going to water it tomorrow, and that kind of stuff. Also watering in the morning helps because it saturates and has time to sink in before it evaporates with the sun. So those are some things that we looked at doing. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions? Thank you, Kristen. We appreciate you sharing that information. Then that's really really good, to hear about the peak off season and how you guys were able to decrease the consumption. Very insightful. Thank you. Um, all right. Well, we can move to our second speaker here today. We have Matthew Pavlov he's the director at the Kinderhook Public Library. They have done a number of things. They have volunteers who monitor and water plants, as well as agriculturists. Sprinklers are used sparingly and monitored when not in use. And something with your landscape design, I believe. But I'll let Matt, discuss that a little bit more. Matt, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for asking me to be here. So we didn't look into a sprinkler monitoring system, which maybe we should have, but we have a really strong volunteer base here, and we have a lot of gardeners locally. So one of the things that we've always been really able to utilize is the strength of our volunteers, and there's just a lot of horticultural interests. So we've had a lot of people who have been really good at wanting to be involved in the library and helping keep it beautiful and helping keep it eco-friendly. So we've been able to set up a really great schedule with volunteer waterers. And so basically we assign different quadrants of the lawn, of the gardens. We don't have a huge footprint, so it makes it a little bit easier. I can understand how it might be a little intimidating for larger libraries. But I think the volunteers are out there, and a lot of times it's just letting people know that you are looking for some help. So we assign quadrants, we assign sections, and they come on a regular basis, usually about once a week. We have advice from a local horticulturist who, again, volunteers a lot of his services, even though we do pay him for some of the more heavy things. And he sets up a nice schedule. So he'll say, this area of the garden is, a lot of drought tolerant things, so we don't need to water them that often, or these will need a little more help. We need to get this. We have a new shrub that needs to be watered twice a week instead of just once a week. So it's nice having that level of assistance on hand. And we've worked with local garden centers to make sure that we are able to really fill the gardens with native plants, because native plants are a lot easier to maintain. They're sort of acclimated to your specific environment. They can handle the droughts that you usually have. They can handle the excessive rain that you might usually have, whereas imported or not native plants, might need a little extra care. They might be prone to different diseases and whatnot. And so you're constantly monitoring them. A lot of times they require a lot more work. So by really focusing on natives, and native grasses too, we haven't really had to water excessively, and we've been able to sort of use the local climate to make it work for us. It's also great using volunteers because everybody's local to us, so they know if it rained on Monday, they don't have to come for their shift. It takes some of the pressure off of us to constantly be having this volunteer system. And if they notice that one of the gardens is getting weedy, they might do it for the other person who they know is on vacation or whatever the case may be. So it's been really nice, and it's also a really good feeling to see people, like I said, really getting on their hands and knees and getting down and dirty for the library because they like it. People ask them what they're doing, and they explain that there are volunteer opportunities, and so we sort of are able to expand the volunteer program that way. So that's been primarily what's been working out for us. We've also been able to capture a lot of the rainwater from the roof, and instead of it running off, we used to have standing water issues. When we had the library expanded in 2018, they did some regrading of the property. So now the water runs away from the building instead of into a pool in the middle of the lawn. And that's just really helped keep some of our plants alive. Instead of having a dirt patch where it's always boggy, the water runs off into the garden specifically. We've also been able to adjust our downspouts to sort of push the water into specific areas that we want them to go instead of, again, pooling at the library's foundation. Is that
no, that's great.
I feel like I talked very quickly, so
it's all right. I think the having volunteers come in and help is something but like you said, it kind of takes the pressure off the staff, and how to manage everything outdoors is definitely a smart, thing to be in, a good initiative.
Well,
How did
also, I
you?
mean, we are a smaller library, so we don't have a huge budget to put into this sort of thing. So it's really been helpful in that regard as well.
How did you? With the horticulturists, were they just a local, were a library patron? How did that relationship start?
He's a library patron. He's a local Kinderhook native, and his family's been heavily involved with the library. So over the years, I mean, this goes before we were even part of the SLI. We've done a lot of board cultivation to find people who had connections in the community. So this individual, his family's been involved with the library directly for a while, and so by by having the board really put together a great local network, we've been able to find local volunteers and stuff like that. And obviously that's not a, let's just do this tomorrow type of thing. It takes like years of cultivation, but it's really it's really paid off. And like I said, we don't rely on him strictly for his volunteer services. We do pay him throughout the year to purchase plants and to help us with this, but he cares about the library a lot too, and so that helps. So we're able to rely on that.
Yeah, it's great to hear, you're building those community connections, being that, he is a long-standing library patron, and I'm sure he like you said, gets a lot out of it. Not only, of course, he's being paid, but still, I'm sure he loves, being able to help and be a resource for you guys. That we did have an advisory board member ask me about which, there was a recently certified library that has a horticulturist that works, so I'm glad that you brought that up, because now I'll probably be reaching out to you after this meeting to find out more. I'll get in touch with that person and see what their questions were. But that is really great and interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
No problem. It's happy to take any questions anyone might have.
Does anyone have any questions for Matt? Anything that he discussed? You can put them in the chat or go ahead.
Yeah, I was taking notes when you were talking about regrading your roof and stuff, because we definitely have a lot of standing water on our roof, and that's something we'll be looking at down the road in a few years, like probably a massive roof redo.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk more about how you regraded and you were able to use the water, like move it away or designate it to certain areas?
I might have misspoken. So we regraded the land around the library. The roof, we actually have a roof issue at the moment that we're trying to sort out. So we have a valley in the middle, and so we have a lot of standing water that tends to leak in the library. So we're looking at ways to get rid of that at this point. But we have a gutter system that goes around the whole side, and 4 downspouts at either corner, and they're adjustable, so we can sort of move them if we needed to. So if we noticed that water was pooling in one specific area, we're able to sort of move it around. Now, I know that there are systems where you can actually have the downspouts go into the earth and sort of put it out a little like under the ground. That requires some excavation, but that might be if you're finding that you have a lot of standing water right near the foundation of the building, you might want to look into one of those underground systems that sort of, we're actually looking at connecting our downspouts to the local storm drain to see if we can have it just go right into the wastewater management system that our village already utilizes. But I don't think it's not a high priority for us at this point. But yeah, no, we graded the lawn because it was actually, everything was going in toward the building instead of out away from it.
Thank you. That's really great. Really good info. Does we have any other questions? Anybody have any knowledge about roofs and anything? Happy to hear that.
Well, our issue, and maybe, I don't know, Kristen, if this is yours, we have a drain that actually is supposed to drain the water out and move it to the side, but it gets clogged so frequently, we always have to have a handyman run up there and unclog it, and you never know when it's going to be clogged. So we're looking at ways to keep that drain unclogged somehow.
Yeah, us too. And we have many different several different versions of editions. So that's all.
Yeah.
When those themes come together.
I think that's what we ran into also.
Great, very good. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll move to our third speaker. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kristen, for those questions. Appreciate it. So our third speaker, we have Eric Gardner, the head of maintenance from the North Belmore Library, as well as James Luberto, the assistant director at North Belmore Library. They're doing a lot of great things. Recently installed a new irrigation system, high efficiency sensors on their toilets, appliances with our WaterSense models. Thank you guys for joining us, and welcome.
Oh, thank you. And sorry I creeped in like that with the camera. We're trying to save energy with one computer over here. So we're more of a visual learner. So we actually do have a slideshow, if that's okay, if I could share the screen real quick.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So Eric knows a lot more about our facilities as the master of the building, but I will be going along with the slideshow. So so this is our title, water usage, and then we're going to start with the I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, but the Beehive watering timer system, which I think this was mentioned in the first presentation, but it's with the automated irrigation system. So maybe Eric can speak a little bit more about.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. How are you? Yeah, Kristen actually touched on this. So we have the Orbit Beehive watering timer system. There's a few of them out there now. They all work relatively the same way. They go off your local zip code, and then the irrigation system will just sort of manage time frames and schedules. And if there's weather in the area, it'll mitigate running the sprinkler, saving you a ton of water usage, which is what Kristen was saying before. Figure like a normal lawn, like at somebody's house, should probably run anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes per zone. We have 4 zones here at the library. We have some in our garden beds and then on the 3 different areas of the lawn. And yeah, we run them for anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes per zone. And that goes with weather. So if we have rain in the area, it's not going to run, saving us a ton of water and money for our water bill.
Yeah, speaking of money too, if anyone was curious, it's on Amazon for $130 right now, so it's nothing too crazy. So if anybody wanted to look it up, just go on Amazon, ruling the world right now. So.
And Liberty, I know actually our local water is Liberty Water. It used to be American Water. Just for my personal home, years ago, they had a deal. If you went on their website, they had a rebate. So I think I got the Ratio model, which is RACHIO. It's the same thing as the Orbit one, but it saved me like $50 or $60 buying it through Liberty rather than buying it online. So the next thing that we want to talk about is, so we run dehumidifiers here in the building. We are directly above a water source, maybe like a riverbed or something that maybe we shouldn't have been built on top of, but anyway, they did decide to build a library on top of it. So our building is humid during certain parts of the year. So we do run dehumidifiers to keep the humidity levels down. As the staff see them getting filled up, we do recycle the water. We put it outside into our garden beds. We use it in our machines. We have an auto scrubber that we use a few times a week. We reuse the water in the auto scrubbers. We have a battery in the auto scrubber that actually has to be filled with distilled water, and this is actually distilled water. So we actually use all of the water, which is excellent for the library and excellent for the earth.
Yeah, and speaking of watering plants, these are all the photos of our beautiful exterior of the building.
So we have a green space, which we implemented within the last year. And it was once just a place that accumulated garbage off of Newbridge Road. So we chained it up and made it into like a really nice green space. So it makes the building pop a little bit more if you're sitting on that side of the building. And we have some local bushes, like Matt had said. We have a local nursery that we worked with, and they came and actually planted some native plants, which was great. and again, saved us some money because we worked with them. And we have a butterfly bush and some pollinators and a fig tree, which is the bottom right, which we got donated to us last season by a patron, which was awesome. So we do have a nice green space, which we are trying to cut down on water a little bit, but we want it to be nice still.
Yeah.
So we do water it.
Yeah, especially the top left. It's our 9/11 Memorial Garden, so we just want to make sure we take extra care of that one.
Exactly. During the renovation, which we did in 2018, 2019, I guess New York State pumps out new regulations every few years. So all of our toilets, all of our sinks, they all have the newest green, label on them. They're all low flow. They all have water sensors. Instead of it being like 3 and 4 gallons of water per flush, it's like 1.5 or something like that. Again, saving us a ton of water usage in our building. We've also looked into a leak detection system, and we actually had some leaks this past year. We had some roofing issues. So everything everyone's talking about is all too familiar here at the library. We had some grading issues in the green space, which we fixed, and the roof, there's always water will find a way. So we are trying to figure out a new way of preventing future leaks in the building. So they do make something that can be installed on the water line, the main water line that would feed your sinks and toilets. And if the system detects a leak, it will automatically close the valve. So if you're off for Labor Day weekend, which you have 3 days with nobody being in the building, and there's a leak, it'll automatically detect and shut down so that you don't come into a mess on Monday or Tuesday. So, and then we have a sanitary sink in the custodial closet. So above the sanitary sink is a 3M chemical dispenser. It's all green approved products. It takes away human error. So, back in the earlier days of stripping floors and stuff, you would have to rely on somebody knowing what the correct ratio to water and stripper was. This takes that away from you, and it does the exact amount. So we're not pumping unnecessary chemicals back into the environment. So we are very conscious about that in the library. And just within the last 6 months, we installed a water bottle filler, which everybody probably could do if you have an area in your library that has traditional water fountains. If you are interested in getting a water bottle filler, you can remove a water fountain and install one of these Elkay water bottle fillers. They're great. So far, I think we've saved, there's a little counter on the top right of the model on the left. I think so far we've saved like 1,000 water bottles from going back into the earth, which was great. And people seem to appreciate it because everyone's carrying around Stanley cups and Yetis and whatever else there is today. So, and then the one to the right, that is a purified water filter, which we have upstairs for the staff. Same thing, same concept, but you don't need to have an existing water fountain for that. That can be installed off of any plumbing tap. And all of our fixtures in the building meet the WaterSense EPA criteria, which I just touched on a little bit. And I think that's pretty much it for the North Belmore Library.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. That was very, very interesting and insightful. A lot of great ideas. You guys doing a lot of great things, and look forward to looking at your action item form and seeing all the great things. Look forward to you guys being certified. That's going to be great. Does anybody have any questions for James and Eric? You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
I have a question, more a question, less a question, more of a comment, because I'm not really sure there's anything that anybody can do about this.
Sure.
Our town does not separate water bills. Apparently, any town building, it's just one big, there's no separate meters. And I've asked about this and everyone's like, no, it's just, the town just pays it. I don't ever see it. I don't even know what's happening. But honestly, I never even thought about water until I saw this on the list, because we've never dealt with it.
Um, any okay. So we have Amy has asked in the chat, the chemical dispenser in the janitor closet is very interesting. Can you explain just a little bit more in detail of what it is and how you would use it?
Sure. Yeah. So we have, so we do a bunch of different things in the building to keep the building clean. So we have like a Windex type chemical that goes in there. We have a floor stripping chemical that goes into the machine. We have a neutral cleaner, which would just be used to clean off like the tables and desks. We have a shampoo extractor chemical. So all 4 of those chemicals can be in the machine at one time. And as you're doing the carpets and you're shampooing the carpets, you would just turn the knob to the carpet, and then that nozzle on the actual chemical itself tells the system how much chemical to put into the system to make it dilute or, you know, be the correct ratio. It's an excellent system. 3M makes it, and like I love 3M products. I think they really are the best. And it hooks up very simple. I mean, it takes you, I mean, if you're handy, it could take you 10 minutes to hook up. It's just 4 bolts that go into the wall, and it hooks up right to a janitor's sink.
So this is to help them monitor how much cleaner to water ratio to use the product, not after you've used the product, you're dumping the bucket or cleaning out the cloths or anything. It's not the after part, it's the before part, right?
Correct. Yep, exactly. It's the before part. So when you're filling up like a water bottle, a spray bottle to clean desks, instead of assuming, yeah, this is enough chemical to put into the bottle with the water, it does it for you. It just simplifies it. And you don't have to know the correct ratio between the chemical and the water.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, though we have them here at the Suffolk Cooperative Library System, and I admit I tried using it once and I failed at using it. So I'm sure it is really, really great. I'm not an expert at that kind of stuff, so don't know exactly what happened there, but I trust you guys that it it does the job, and maybe I'll give it a shot next time and see if I can.
No problem. There's a little learning curve to it, but once you figure it out, it's pretty easy. But if anyone's in the area, and if you want to come by and see it, I'd be more than happy to show it to you.
We'll get into the library. It's a cool library.
Absolutely, yeah, I'd love to.
I actually have a quick other question about the dehumidifiers. So we use 4 dehumidifiers down in our basement area, and they're emptied quite often throughout the day. So when you say that you use the water, do you just take the bucket out of the dehumidifier and go around and water the plants with that, or do you put it in something else? I'm just trying to figure out like the most efficient way to use that water.
We do, yeah. So as they beep, we would just bring them outside. The ones on the second floor, we don't typically do. I would just put it into like the toilet, just to like give the toilet a flush, or into the sink. But yeah, on the first floor, we would just bring them right outside. There probably is a more efficient way, maybe to bring a bigger 5-gallon pail instead of bringing out the 2 gallons that are in the dehumidifier. But yeah, whatever works for you.
That's very interesting. I have one at home, and same thing. I wasn't sure what a good way to kind of transfer that water is, but that's helpful. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I know we did have a question about rain barrels. Or someone, Union Public Library, I believe, do you have a question about rain barrels that you'd like to ask?
Hi, my name's Emily. I'm from Union Public Library. My coworker, Josue, and I are here. So it's one of those things, I think I was just kind of overcomplicating it in my head. And he's I think, effectively explained it to me, where it's basically there to catch either rainwater or is it gutter? Like, how does it work with the gutters? Runoff. So I just kind of needed it to be a little bit demystified, but I think I got it now. I know that sounds like a very silly question, but
No, not at all. We actually, on the SLI website, we do have a DIY rain barrel in the sustainable program resource, and there's a nice PDF. I'll put it in the chat that you can take a look at if you have, just to kind of. It's from the EPA, and here, I'll stick it in the chat there. It sounds like you probably got it, but just in case.
great, thank you.
You got it.
Can I ask one more question? So we imagine that they get very heavy very quickly. Is there any way to kind of like use it without having to transport like a 50 or plus, something that's very, very heavy? Like what's I'm still new to this, but
I've seen some that they have a spigot on the side, and so you'll sort of like tap them almost, and you can fill it up from the bottom. Aside from just scooping it out.
okay,
But I don't know if that's all of them. It's just I've seen that.
okay,
Yeah, a lot of them are 50 gallons, and you would, like he said, you would put a spigot into the bottom of it and rely on gravity. And you'd hook up a hose right to the spigot. But unfortunately, what I've seen happen, and I actually had one at my house, and it just didn't work out. The gravity fed portion of it didn't really push the water through the hose as like you need pressure to come out of a hose, so it would be at the end of the 50-foot hose, it would just be like dribbling out instead of actually like, forcefully coming out, which is kind of what you would want. But it does work if you set up like a green space and you had this in the green space area, you could hook up like a soaker hose to the spigot, and the spigot can just sort of slowly drain the water into a green space. That would work for you. But yeah, unfortunately, unless you had like an electric pump that would be pumping out the water, it wouldn't be good for like distance, like throwing water 30 or 40 feet with a hose. It would just be like dribbling out the end. But it does work. You just have to be careful also, because that is like ground, like sitting water. Mosquitoes do breed in rain barrels. That was why I got rid of mine. So it's good for some and it's not good for others.
gotcha.
Yeah, we talked about that at one point as a possibility, and our board decided to forego a rain barrel just because of this mosquito issue being the primary thing.
That makes sense. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was very helpful. I know we have rain barrels here at the system as well. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how it all works and using it. So thank you for the input. We appreciate that. Any other water topics that anyone would like to talk about or discuss? If not, we can discuss other topics, or if you have other questions related to the certification program.
I have a question about the device for using filtered water instead of a traditional water cooler. Does that make hot water as well?
This model does not. I don't know if there's any models out there that do. The unit on the right, I don't know which one you were talking about. The one on the right in the slideshow, Jimmy's going to pull it back up actually. Just one second.
Yes, not the bottle filler, the one
not the bottle filler. The one on the right, it
water.
does make hot water. Yeah, it does.
That's what I was curious about. Yes.
Yeah, the quench does. Yeah, so they have a safety lock on it too, so you can't just hit a single button. You have to hold down 2 buttons to get the hot water, because it does come out very hot.
Yeah, piping hot.
Thank you.
And I don't know if we had it in here. We also have a tankless hot water heater installed in the building, which was it in here? I don't think so.
It was. Yeah.
I could touch on that quick. So the difference between a traditional tank in your in your house If you go in your basement or your water closet, you have a big tank and that holds your hot water. So that will regulate the temperature, keeping it at whatever temperature it's set at. And all day long when you're at work, that thing is still creating that temperature for hot water. They make tankless hot water heaters now, which the US just got on board with maybe like 10, 15 years ago. Other countries have been using them for 30 years. They're just more efficient. They run on demand. So when you're calling for hot water, it's creating hot water. We have one in the library. It's great. We're not burning through unnecessary gas, which is, ideal for, I think, everybody, especially this group. We want to save where we can and be a little smarter about things. So yeah, tankless hot water heaters are definitely the way to go.
How are those pricey? What's the kind of
Yeah, I
cost?
mean, if you were, I don't know for like a commercial model, but like a residential model, you could get a traditional tank for like 500 to 750. A tankless hot water is probably 1,500. They last about 10 years, probably about the same time that a traditional one lasts. But in the savings that you would save on oil and gas, I think it's worth it.
Great.
I know
Thank
for
Does it take a long time to, like, when you turn the hot water on? Like,
Yeah, so I mean, within 15 seconds, you have hot water.
wow. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, at our building, we're we're smaller, but we have under sink heaters. So like I don't know if that's similar to what you're talking about, but they heat up very quickly, and it's I think it's a plug. I mean, I think you just plug it into the wall and it heats it up. And I mean, you can't do a whole load of dishes in it, but it's certainly
Right.
good for a couple things or washing your hands or something like that.
Yeah, those are electric models, and yeah, they're just as good. Same thing, like you said, you can't run a whole load of laundry on that, but you could definitely wash your hands. Or
Right, for the uses of our library meeting room, it's usually fine.
it's perfect. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions or anything anyone would like to bring up or share? Water related or? No. All right. Well, I want to thank all of our speakers today, Kristen, Matt, James, and Eric. Thank you so much for your insights. Thank you everyone for your questions and making the discussion go smoothly. We appreciate that. James and Eric, would you guys mind sharing those slides with me? That way I can put them up with the video in our resources section so people can take a look at them.
Absolutely. And I'll also include the last slide. I'll put our contact on it. So if anyone does have questions later on, just let us know. We'll be happy to answer it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Matt and Kristen, if you guys have anything that you talked about today, you want to send it over, I'd be happy to add that as well. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks for having us.
With that, we will call it a day, and hope you all join us on Thursday, October 3rd. Next month, we'll be talking about materials and waste in the library. So we hope to see you then. And everyone have a nice afternoon and enjoy the rest of your week.